Hi everybody, Martin here. I hope you are all well, and a big welcome to a new series of live demonstrations from a new workspace, which I'll show you around a little bit later. I hope you've had fantastic summers and autumns as we go charging off into the winter of 2020. Could this be our winter of discontent? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about anything else other than a little bit of wood turning and a little bit of fun tonight. So I hope you are all well. Demonstration as usual is going to kick off at 7:30. I can see that there are 162 people here at the moment. So yeah, please do chat amongst yourselves. I've got a few little bits and pieces to do as usual. Finish setting up the cameras and stuff, and then we'll crack on at 7:30. I'm quite excited. I'm quite excited, but at the same time a little bit nervous as well. So no, that's great. It's lovely to see 165 people here now. So that's great. And hello everybody. Lots of familiar names popping up there in the chat, and a few slightly unfamiliar ones as well. So it's all really good. Cool. Right. Chat away. I'm going to crack on with a few bits and pieces that I need to do. I've got to sort the focus and the white balance out on those two cameras. White balance first. White balance is all important for these cameras. That'll do, and then I'll set the focus as well. Focus. Which camera is that? Tool rest. There it is. Splendid. Right, and then we'll do the other camera. Rob, if I was really nervous, I'd swear more. Honestly, Rob, I'm I'm quite well trained at doing this. There are sometimes, oops, wrong button. There are sometimes I wish I could let myself go a little bit more, but obviously I'm not sure of who's watching. Cool, right, that's the white balance done on this one. And then focus. Gonna have to, where's my focus mask? I can't find my focus mask. There it is. I'm going to set this focus about halfway along the spindle. Ah, that's close enough. That's the tool rest cam. No, wrong one. Tailstock. Yeah, there we go. Wicked. So that's the focus mask and the grey card. Tools are sharpened. Who else have we got in this evening? Tim Grange, hi Tim. Mike Doyle, hi Mike, how are you? Good to see you, thank you for joining in tonight. Hi Rubber Dubwood and Andrew Lorban Pearson. Steve Ash, hiya. Lynn Bayford, hi Lynn. Evening Leona. Don McKee, hi Don. Oh, Scott Hampton's in the house as well, and Dewey, hi Dewey. Oh, Mike Walt as well, hello Mike. Not bussing it this evening. James, Wessex Technical, yes, I do. I've got one here, or do I? Yeah, hang on a minute, James. I haven't had a chance to get back to you yet. I've got your email, but I haven't had a chance to get back to you yet. It's all been a bit hectic. Right, so James Wessex Technical. Let's have a look at this one here. There's a Les Thorne spindle gouge, and it is just a shade under 8 inches, which is 200mm long, and the flute is 126mm on this one. Okay. And the shaft is 75. Keith Sterling, do I still sell the pepper mill kits, the pepper grinder kits? No, Keith, they all sold out months ago. I did a massive sale on them, and they all sold out, I'm afraid. Sorry. Karen Browning, hi Karen, haven't heard from you for a while. I hope you're well. Martin Isets in South Carolina. Hi Martin. Thank you, Lee. Glad you like it. Andy Hexter, thank you very much. I'm glad you like that lacquer. It is rather nice. Amilo Mio in Spain. Hello. James, Wessex Technical. No, we are completely sold out of all of Les's tools at the moment. Les did a demonstration on Friday afternoon and sold out of everything, plus a whole load. We are expecting more in though within the next week or so, but you can, if you want, James, you can, to definitely get hold of one sooner rather than later. You can back order if you want, but unfortunately at the moment the website is down. I've got some people doing some work on it. Hello Colin and Rachel on their big TV. Hi Cat the Fish, or the cat and the fish. Martin, is the woodshed finished? Andrew, yes, it's got a roof on it and walls, but it's not completely finished just yet. Thank you, Jerry. Ba, ba, ba. Hello, Julia Hammond. Hi, JP. Jamie Page there. Glad you're liking the picture quality, Paul. Me too. I'll before probably about 7:25, and before we sort of start the actual demo itself, I'll give you a little rundown of the new workspace and a little bit of the tech setup and stuff. Thank you, Reg82. Boop, boop, boop. I said I had some things to do, didn't I? Like think about what I'm actually going to do this evening, other than some autumn colours. But there are a couple of things that there are a few things that I've got in mind. He says, worrying about what the hell he's going to do. Let's grab those. I will put those there for easy pickings. And I'll bring this over here as well. Hi David Hall, nice to see you. Hope you're well. Dire emergency. Hiya. Dire emergency. Yes, it is a Stream Deck. I'll show it to you later, or shortly. Rob Woodsley Summercraft. Hello. Paul Lockwood, if you don't follow me, which you clearly don't, you're not going to know why I've moved. But I will explain to you why shortly. Oh, Frederick, it is much warmer now. Much, much warmer. A full-size turned version of Westminster Cathedral. Cheers, Steve. Maybe next week. I think I could squeeze that into a couple of hours. Those better give the old face shield a clean, I suppose, as well. Jerry Dempsey. Your wife, Mrs. Dempsey, blames Mike and Phil Anderson, for getting you into wood turning. I'd blame Mike if I were you, Jerry. Most things are Mike's fault. Hello, Phil. Phil Bolter's in the house. Wivey Woodshed. Hi, Andy. I've forgotten how strange it is. I've been doing an awful lot of stuff on Zoom recently, and I can see people, but now all I can see are names and comments flicking up there, and it's and I've forgotten how bizarre it is to be essentially talking to oneself. Steve Robbins, hello. Lauren Becker, hi, Lauren. Chris Cox, hi, Chris. Yeah, I'm going to need that. Going to need that. Am I going to need to? No, I'm not going to need to turn it around. That'll be all right. Ba ba ba. Brickhouse Craftworks. 267 people chatting over the top of one another. Yep. Welcome to the wild world of YouTube Live. Robert Dresselbuder, where can I get the Intrinsic Colour 15mm set in Germany? Robert, if you have a look at the website for Killinger Machinery, Killinger, bear with me a minute, I'll put a link in the chat for you, Robert. So this is for Robert in Germany. The link I've just put into the chat there. Or if anybody else is in Germany and they're looking for Hampshire Sheen stuff, then you can get it from our new distributor, Killinger Maschinen, in Germany. Ba, ba, ba. 7:20. Right, we'll give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Rob Crawford, need to get my wood turning fix. Oh no, your lathe's broken. Nightmare. I think I've got about a 15 to 20 second delay from when I say something to when you hear it. That's certainly what it looks like on my screen. There is definitely a delay. I can definitely see chat sooner than you hear me. Chat runs quicker than the video. But there we are. Nothing I can do about that. I do feel very out of practice with YouTube Live and stuff. Very out of practice indeed. Evening, Paul Clark and BB Turning. And John Movie. Hi, Stace Makes. Nice to see you. Hope everything's still. One of them. Oh, sneaky peek at the from the back view there, as it were. Ba ba ba. Right, we're going to give it 3 more minutes, and then we're going to and then we're going to crack on, and I'll do 5-minute little little overview of the new setup and what's been going on here since I last saw you way back in August, and then we'll crack on with the thingy. Martin, Gerard says, do I still have the plan for the Snowman Pepper Mill? Gerard, yes, somewhere. Frank F, you're on the other side of the world, so a 15-second delay is completely fine. Yeah, I don't worry about the delay either. There's nothing I can do about it. So, hey, Matt Held. Hi, Matt. Nice to see you. James, after Christmas, when lockdown's lifted and all the other stuff, then you'll be very welcome. Jean Doucette, what do I use for dust collection? I use a very large dust extractor with an overhead fan to help blow the dust down. The Caveman, Martin, how are your gouges fixed to the wall? Caveman, they are fixed to the wall using these. Just those sort of those hose clip stuff. I think they're called Terry clips. It's just those, various different sizes depending upon the size of the ferrule. Andrew Pike, hi Andrew, how are you? Nice to see you. How do I, Elias Horak, how do I turn long spindles? Do you own another lathe but the Vicmark? Yes, I've got two other full-size lathes, Elias. I've got one Nova Galaxy, which has got a 44-inch bed, and the Axminster AT2030, which has got a 30-inch bed, plus an extra 12 inches on the end of that. I can't remember, but I very rarely turn long spindles, so the length of the bed is not a problem for me. It's the depth. Jerry Dempsey, broom clips, that'll do. That's how I hold them on the wall, the tools on the wall. Ba ba ba. Right, okay, 7:25. Should we get cracking? I can't put this off much longer, even though I am slightly nervous at being back in front of a YouTube audience for the first time in a few months. Stuart, hi Stuart. Right, okay. Let's get started, shall we? Right. Oh, yeah, weird feeling. Slightly, but all a bit, yay. Phil, I can read your comments. We'll be having words on Thursday. Right, okay, everybody. Massive, big, warm welcome to the new workshop, or the new workspace, the new studio workshop. I hope you are all well and you have had very creative end of the summers and autumns and the beginnings of the winter since I was last live on YouTube. Some of you have joined me in the past, or in the recent past, for some Zoom demonstrations and stuff, but it is great to be back here on YouTube, so I bid you a very, very warm welcome. So, let me just hit the record, there we go. So what has been going on here since I last saw you, which I think, if I remember correctly, was the 23rd of August? Well, what hasn't been going on? It has been an absolutely manic end of the summer and autumn. I think it was the week after the last live demonstration I did for Jamie's Virtual Craft Festival. Very well known turner, Les Thorne. A lot of you may well know Les Thorne from the UK club circuit, or even the US and European club circuit. His workshop was about 7 miles away, but over the last 18 months or so we had been talking about starting up a joint business venture together. And of course, what better time to start a business than right in the middle of a global pandemic. So that's what we decided to do. So the week after my last live demonstration, quite literally when that demonstration finished, I ripped down all of the camera stuff, packed it all away, ready to essentially move workshops from that end of the building to here. And we spent a good few weeks organising stuff. We had some builders in, mainly Les's dad and his mate John, building the workshops here. And if I just flick cameras to that one over there, you'll be able to see the new workspace. This is the new studio. The Vicmark VL300 lathe is in here with a radiator. It's a little bit smaller than a single car garage, and yeah, it's just a little bit smaller than a single car garage, but I've got everything in here that I need to do my normal turning whenever I get a chance to do it, because business is incredibly hectic at the moment, but also the live demonstration stuff. And up here we've got a permanent camera rig, not the semi-permanent one that was there back in August. This is a permanent built-in rig with a dedicated streaming PC that I was using towards the end of the last series. So we've got the over the spindle camera that you're all familiar with, a tailstock view, a tool rest view. So this camera that you're looking at now can move up and down and give some really superb views of the insides of bowls and faceplates and stuff. Another view here from the tailstock. So this camera here looks straight down the centre of the lathe bed virtually and gives excellent square-on views of faceplate work and along the tool rest for spindle work. And then there's obviously the face cam that I'm going to spend some time talking to you on, but there's also this one, this camera here, which I call the bench cam because it can move from here above the that one. This camera up here can move from here to over this side, where I can do some hands-on work and stuff like that. And just through there, you can't see it because I've actually cleaned it in honour of tonight. Just through there, just the other side of the lathe, is a window that looks into what will become very soon our retail shop. Me and Les, or Les and I, are opening a retail shop here in Hampshire. Not particularly big, not particularly small, but it's going to be just through that window there. So when anybody comes in and I'm actually doing some turning, they can actually stand at the window and see an in-person demonstration free of dust and chippings and stuff like that. And then just the other side of this wall here is Les's workshop. Now if you don't know Les's work, Les is a production turner, and I'm not sure if this camera's going to reach. Oh, no it won't. But if you just take a little look just through there, that there with the learner sign on is Les's one-way 2436 lathe with all the various extensions on it. So he can actually get, I think it's 9'6" between centres. It's quite something. And then where my old workshop was, that is being turned into a full-on school. We've got 7 full-size lathes in there, and I think we've got 3 or 4 Nova Comets as well between us. So all in all, it has been a crazy few weeks, few months rather, a few months. So yeah, it's been a very busy time. We're looking forward to being able to open the shop hopefully as soon as lockdown ends in December, but we'll see. Don't know yet. Brickhouse Craftworks. Yeah, just very quickly about the cameras, and then I'm going to crack on with the demo. All of the webcams, which is that one, the spindle cam, the bench camera and the PC camera over there, they are all Logitech C920 cameras, and the tailstock camera and the tool rest camera, they are both Canon Legria HF, I can't see it, HFR67s. So there we go. And I've also done a lot of work on getting the illumination right, etc, etc, blah blah blah. But we're not here to talk tech, we're here to talk wood turning. You would not believe the number of questions and emails I get about the camera setup and stuff like that, and it's all controlled through a 32 button Stream Deck. So there we go. Right, please don't forget that I do run these demonstrations without an earworm. It's just me here in the workshop, so if you do ask a question whilst I'm in the middle of something, there's a very, very good chance I'm not going to actually see it. So please do wait until I stop at a sort of a natural break before asking any questions, and I will answer as many as I possibly can. I want to see if I can get the demonstration done by about 9:30 UK time, which is about 2 hours, so we will be working fairly quickly this evening. So what are we actually going to do? Now we're going to stop talking for a little while. Well, we're going to be doing sort of a little pot, a little vasey type thing, very, very simple shape, and some really effective, gorgeous, nice, warming autumn colours using the Intrinsic Colour collection. What else would I use? And in the interests of transparency, other colours are available. My website at the moment, thewoodturningshop.com, is currently down for a little bit of maintenance. I'm hoping it's going to be back up in a couple of hours. I've got some people working on it. So looking at the blank here, we've got a piece of beech. For those of you who want to know how big it is just a shade over 8 inches by 4. So let's call it 8 by 4 inches. It's been sitting around for a while, so I'm expecting it to be really quite dry. It's been sat around for a little while here, and it's been sat over there in the warm for a little while as well. So first thing we've got to do is get it round. So I'm going to get my little spindle roughing gouge, and same as usual, I'm going to put on my face shield for this. I'm going to try not to use this camera whilst I'm wearing the face shield, because I've lost a few more bits of hair since I last saw you. But obviously when you are in your own workshops, please make sure you follow your manufacturer's instructions and use the right tool for the right job, and protect your face and your lungs and everything else like that. Workshop responsibility, or your workshop responsibility, is or your workshop safety is yours, so please bear that in mind. This is my way of doing this project. There are other ways that will get you the same or similar result, and health and safety thing over and done with, but most of all, please do have fun and stay safe while you're doing it. So we've got the blank mounted between centres. I've got a spur drive on this side and a live ring centre on this side, and I've got a small spindle roughing gouge here. Just going to make sure that everything is locked down before we crack on. Make sure that's locked. There we go. Lathe switched on because I did a demo the other week and forgot. Turn the lathe down. There we go. Might need to lower the tool rest in a minute, so I think it's a little bit on the high side. Now, for those of you who are interested in lathe speed, we're running just under 1000 RPM at the moment. Okay, just take a couple of light cuts. I'm not going to rush. There's no need to rush, particularly on a 4-inch piece of beech. Just going to move the tool rest in a little bit more. Make sure that it's parallel to the lathe bed. I'm just going to drop it down a smidge. That's better. A little bit more speed in, and I'm going to run my finger along the tool rest just to give myself a nice parallel guide. Little pressure onto the tool with my thumb as well just helps to keep it in place. Just take it nice and easy. Move it in a little bit closer. It's getting a touch smaller now. Move that in there and we'll change the camera angle for you as well. I'm just going to tip that camera down ever so slightly. There we go. No need to rush. Couple more passes and I think I'll be happy. Nearly there, just tuck that in a little bit more. Now I'm just looking here. We've got a little inclusion there, so I'm just keeping half an eye on that. Just to make sure it's not going to do anything inconvenient. You know, once you get into the swing of it and your tool presentation's nice, you could just spend all day just roughing blanks down like this. Once you get those streamers coming off and everything looks cool and feels good, you could just do it all day. Although to be fair, I don't think I could do it with spindles. I could do it with bowls. I absolutely adore turning bowls, so I could spend all day just turning bowls inside out. Not turning bowls inside out, what am I talking about? Just turning bowls. There's a little bit of that inclusion there is actually a little bit of burr just there, so I think I'll make this bit the top of the vasey bit. So I need to take a little bit more off this end. There we go. Let's just stop the lathe there. Come on, I'm going to have to move that tool position. This is this here is a new set of shelves that was put in the other day. So it's the first time I've used them. So I think I'm going to have to move the position of the spindle roughing gouge. Okay, good. That's the piece round. I'm happy with how that's gone. And now what I need to do, I've put a pair of safety glasses on. Is now if we just take a look here, just to have a look at that piece again, we've got a little bit of what looks like burr up here. So if I want this end to be the top of my vasey vessel thing, I want to put a tenon on this end. So if I just swing that camera around that way a little bit, you'll be able to see. So to do that, I'm going to put that on using a 10mm sort of multi-purpose tool. There it is. 10mm multi-purpose tool, and I've got the calipers already set to the correct diameter for the jaws I'm going to use. But if we just run the lathe up just a second, you can see this end isn't exactly very clean. So my first job is just to clean up this end a touch. Just clean up this end a little bit. Get the tool rest up to the right height. That will be helpful. Doesn't need to come up very much. So start with the handle down, and just lift the handle into the cut with a gentle push forward. Just to clean that up there. And now I can start to make the tenon. So I'm going to take half a blade's width to start with. Stop there. I've just knocked them, so I'm just going to check that they're the right size still. Yep. Oh, long way to go yet. So half a blade width to start. Little bit further. Let's just check that. Oh, that'll do. So that's a single blade's width. Now I'm going to take another, sorry, that's a half a blade. And now we'll take the second half. Just down to meet it, just like that. Do one final check. Super duper. I could probably take a smidge off, tiny little bit more off. But I need to make sure that the shoulder in here, where the tenon meets the main block of wood, is nice and square, which it is, and it's nice and tidy and clean. So, that's that bit. So I can now take that off the... nearly dropped it. I can now take that off the live centres. Sorry, off the drive centre. Put that back over there. And that there. And put the chuck on. Now you might have noticed that I turned a square tenon just then. That's because I'm using a set of gripper jaws. I think you might be able to see those. A set of gripper jaws from Axminster that require a square tenon rather than a dovetail. So now we can slide that in there. That looks nice. Now before I tighten it up completely, slow the lathe down. Just add a little bit, a tiny little bit of speed just to see if it's running true, which it is, which is always handy. Now I'm going round here and I'm tightening up each of the chuck keyholes just to make sure that there's sort of even pressure throughout or across the entire scroll. There we go. I'll leave that, or after a couple of minutes that it's been turning, I will just double check that it hasn't kind of spread apart a little bit. Just going to open the window in here because it's quite warm now. Right, there we go. Now I do need to do a little bit of rearranging of the cameras, which is just not that one, this one. Just want to ever so slightly rearrange this one. Oop. Put it down a little bit. Just adjust it there. There we go. That'll do. Splendid. Pull the tailstock a little bit further out the way. There we go. Right. Does anybody have any questions at all? I'll stop for just a couple of minutes just to see if we've got any questions. Yeah, there's about a 15-second delay from when I say something to when it appears on the screen, I think. Ba, ba, ba. Matt Harbour, the tailstock camera is a Canon Legria HG, can't remember, hang on. HFR67, Matt. Martin, do you use Crown Cryo tools? Design and make? No, I don't. I haven't used enough of them to give me a proper opinion of the Crown Cryo ones, but the ones I have used, personally speaking, I do find them a little bit aggressive. Douglas Mungham, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say so. TJ Turning, I am making a sort of a little bit of a vase thing with some really nice warming colours on it, and I think we'll put a little bit of texture on it too. Adrian Olsen, I've just answered your question too. Renee, are you looking after yourself? Yeah, mostly. Right, okay, I'm going to crack on now. Now, if we take another look at this, we've got a fairly wobbly end. And also it's covered in wax, of course, so we can't have that. We do need to clean this end up. So I'm going to take a nice sharp spindle gouge and just take a couple of cuts across the end just to clean it up. Take the wax off. I'm not going to go too hard at it. There we go. Just do a little bit more. Just move that camera down a smidge as well. There we go. Just run that along there. Get a nice clean surface. There we go. Yeah, super surface. Let's do that. There we go. Really lovely surface. There's actually some really nice marking in this beach. Some really nice marking. Now, one last thing to do is I think I'm going to drill down here a little bit. So I'm going to put a little bit of a dimple just in the end there, just to mark the centre. And then I'm going to find a drill. Now, I hadn't actually planned on drilling it this evening, but I think I will. That'll do. And so I've got a very large Forstner bit, a 50mm Forstner bit here, and I can afford to go down its full. No, a little bit less than that. Let me just put a Sharpie mark on there. I don't want to go down its full length because I need to do a little bit of titivation down the bottom of the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on the shank of the drill bit how deep I actually want to go with it. Oh, wrong button. There we go. So I think I want to go down there. You can see this piece of green tape, which is where I've marked for other times, and this is actually marked out for the ring box. Remember the ring box that I made a few months ago? It's still got its tape on from that. So I want to go down, if I imagine it going down there, round the bottom off here. A little bit of a waste. Yeah, okay, I'm going to err on the side of caution and just take it down to that black Sharpie mark just there. Now I'm going to take the live centre out, move the tool rest out of the way, and then tailstock's got some shavings under it. Mark Richardson, the spindle gauge was 3/8. That's a UK 3/8, by the way. Okay, right, now if I just pull that up to there, and we'll look at the tailstock cam. There we go. A really helpful thing to do with this, because this is a very large Forstner bit, what we're going to find is that it's going to want to start squeaking, particularly on this beach as it is quite dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some mineral oil, take a little bit of mineral oil, put a little bit on the floor. No, that's the one I want. Take a little bit of mineral oil and just put it over the flats of the Forstner bit, and that will just help stop the squeaking. Now when it comes to drilling on the lathe, particularly with large bits like this, slow your lathe right down. It doesn't need to be going at 1,000 miles an hour. Probably 400 to 600 miles an hour will be enough. So start that and slow it down. I'll tell you exactly how fast it's going. 512 is how fast it's going at the moment. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to move the tailstock in so that it just makes contact, lock it down, and then start to advance very carefully. You can see it started smoking. Pull it out fairly regularly to clear the swarf. Now one thing I do have here is just above my head I've got a fan which I'm going to switch on, and that's just going to help blow the smoke down through another little extractor that's just down there, and that helps keep the dust down and smoke in this case. Clear the swarf out of the way. That one, there we go. Now we're down a little bit further. I'm going to slide the tailstock in, lock it down and advance again. Withdraw the tailstock to clear the swarf and push it in again. Pull it out. You know, there's no need to rush this because this is a very large Forstner bit. There's no need to rush it. And remember to clear the swarf. The last thing you want is a load of swarf building up in there and then jamming your Forstner bit in there, and then it makes a horrible noise, the lathe stops and you swear a lot. It's just not worth the effort. So slow the lathe down, advance slowly, clear the swarf and just keep on going. Let's do over the spindle for this one. Okay, I'm nearly there. I'm nearly down to the depth I want. Ease that out slowly. And then just line the cut up with the black Sharpie mark. Job's done. Now I can take that Forstner bit out of there. There we go, give that a little shake. That's going to need some sharpening soon. Okay, right. Now we can start looking at a little bit of hollowing. Oh, move the tailstock all the way back. Let's just have a look at a couple of the. I'll put the oil back up there. And I'll put the calipers over there because I don't know where to put them just yet. One thing I do need to do first, actually, that I need to put a little bit of shape on the little bit of shape on it, and to do that I'm going to use I want a little bit of tailstock support. Oop. So I'm going to use a rubber chuckie. If you're asking questions, I can't see them, so unless somebody else can answer them in chat for you, please can you hold on until I stop and ask for questions. Right, let's just take a look over the spindle for a minute, because I want to start thinking about a little bit of shape. I don't want to put too much shape on at the moment. So there's the Forstner bit. Now trust me, that mark is right over where it needs to be, you see. So at the moment the hole inside there is this deep, but obviously it's got a flat bottom and I want a rounded bottom, which is why I've stopped short, because I want to use some carbide tools and some scrapers to round the bottom off a little bit like that. Then the rest of the vase is going to come round kind of like that and get parted off about here, which means this, all of this on this side, is a little bit of a waste block. It's a little bit on the large side. It's a little bit on the large side, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. So this is the depth of the hole that we've drilled. This is roughly how deep I want it to be, and this is going to be somewhere around where the walls are. That's kind of the plan. But I need to start working on a little bit of the shape to start with, just to give me some visual reference when I'm hollowing on the outside, so I know roughly how deep I can go and the shape I want and stuff. So right, get the tool rest up to a nice height, and we'll do the tailstock view. There we go. And I've got a 3/8 bowl gouge here. 3/8 bowl gouge sharpened to 45 degrees, and you might even be able to see if I just put it on that camera there. You can see that I've actually taken the heel off here as well. So I'll just zoom that out a little bit and tilt it backwards for you too. There we go. That'll do. Right, so we'll go over the spindle to start with. Make sure that the tool rest is parallel and at the right height. Make sure everything's locked into position as well. That's always helpful. I can already see that the tool rest is too high, so just drop it down a touch. Oop. And we'll start again. Now, where was my... You can tell I'm out of practice. I've forgotten to put my marks all the way round the piece. Right, so that's my depth. That's my current depth. That's the bottom of the hole, and that there is the parting off. Okay, somewhere in there is the parting off. So no, yeah, somewhere in there. Somewhere in there is where I'm going to start taking some wood out. Not too much, because I've still got the hollowing to do, remember. Whoop. Somewhere in there will be good. I do love nice, simple shapes, particularly if they're going to be made to look a little bit busier with some colour and stuff. Take a little bit more off there. A little bit off there. Right, that will do for the shape. I really don't want to be doing any more shaping than that at the moment, because we're going to be putting quite a lot of lateral force, sideways force on the piece when we start to hollow it out any minute now. So we can whip that back, and now we can start to hollow it out a little bit. Now I'm going to move this camera down a touch, so you can hopefully get a better view in there. Oh, excuse me, there we go. It's not going to be the best possible view, obviously, because we're going to be hollowing, so we're a reasonable way down. Just correct the focus. There we go. Now to start the hollowing, I'm going to switch over to a carbide tool. Carbide tools are fantastic for this, for hollowing jobs. Particularly those with the small little 6mm cutters. So I'm going to use the Robert Sorby Mini Hogger in case you're interested. There it is. Tool rest. There it is. There's the Mini Hogger. It's a really super little tool, and when it's teamed up with a nice stiff heavy handle, it makes for a very effective hollowing tool, that's for sure. So I'm getting the tool rest up to a height where when the tool is presented flat, you can see that the bar's rounded on the top and flat on the bottom. So when it's presented to the work, let's use that camera for a minute. I think you might be able to see just inside there. When the tool's presented correctly, you're cutting right about on the centre line or just below, which is absolutely perfect. And I'm just going to swing the tailstock out of the way. There we go. So hopefully you'll be able to see roughly what I'm doing. Obviously we're quite deep, so it's going to get a little bit dark in there fairly quickly, but we can at least get started. So I'm going to pull that up a touch and just tip it down a bit so you maybe hopefully get a better view of the tip. Not really. Let's go up a little bit higher. And we can zoom in nice and close as well. Check focus. Focus is all important. There we go. Brilliant. So when that's on there like that, you should be able to see the tip. Magic! Look at that. The magic of television. Okay. I don't want to do the hollowing too fast, but you can see, oh, you can't see from there, but the tool rest is quite far from the end of the piece. The tool rest is quite far from the end of the piece. That's because the bottom of the tool is where the actual cutting tip is held, and I want to be able to withdraw the tool completely before removing it. And if the tool rest is any closer, then I'm not going to be able to remove the tool. There we go. So we'll start the lathe up, and I want to run this with the tool completely flat on the bar. Slow the cuts down. The wood was giving me a little clue there that it wasn't happy. The wood starts to vibrate too much. it's not happy. I might need to rotate the cutter. It's not cutting quite as well as it was. Now we're in a little bit deeper, I can move the tool rest in a touch and just raise it up a little bit. And as I raise the tool rest up, I can bring the camera down a smidge to give you hopefully a slightly better view. Now if I just put it on the PC cam, you can see that I'm actually right over the end of the lathe. And I'm almost at the bottom. What's that noise? Funny noise. So almost at the bottom, so I'm going to take a few light cuts just to finish that off. Big lump just there. We'll stop the lathe there and have a look. Give that a little blowout with some air. Here we go. It's not as rough as you like on this. Well, it's not rough. It's just pretty pretty rough. So that's got the hogging done. Now I'm going to switch over to a fairly large, fairly weighty scraper, just to put a half decent finish on the inside there. Just see who that is. Okay, right, so we'll look at the tool rest cam again. So I've got a nice big scraper. Going to have to move the tool rest further round so I can get in here. Now one thing about doing these lives and stuff is that I do need to get into some pretty awkward positions in order to keep the camera angles looking nice for you. I don't think you can see that very well. Let me pull it down a little bit more. Whoop. And you might be able to see a little bit better in there. I am in a very uncomfortable position doing this, in fact, and I want a longer handle for the tool as well. Oh, they're the same length. So ideally I want a longer handle, so I'm going to swap the ends over. Just to give me a little bit of extra leverage, because it is quite a long way down in there. Oop. Just while I'm doing this, has anybody got any questions at all? Anybody with any questions while I struggle with this? Thanks for coming, Mike. Oh, there we go. Clive Gouger, I bought the rubber chuck from the Rubber Chucky Company in America. I think it's here, Clive, if you look at rubberchucky.com. Anthony, thank you very much indeed. You're a star, Anthony, thank you. Much appreciated. Are gripper jaws better than normal dovetail jaws? It's very much a matter of personal preference, I think. I prefer gripper jaws, although it does kind of depend what I'm doing. Oh, what am I doing? I'm all over the shop at the minute. I'm reading questions and I'm doing this. John N. Hiya, John N. Very warm welcome to you. Your first time here. Matt, Matt Harbour, that's a no-nose chucky. The other one is a standard rubber chucky. Funny names. Right, okay. I've got as long a handle on here as I can get. I've been faffing about, so I do apologise. So let's get back in there and start to smooth this down a little bit. And get myself in that awkward position. Now, one thing I definitely want to do is get rid of that. The hole at the bottom that's left by that enormous force bit. So I'm taking some light cuts in there. You can't see them particularly well. You might be able to see them better with the other camera. If I just line that up a little bit better. Tailstock. There we go. Yeah, you can just see the centre down there. So if I get myself in that awkward position again, you can see that I'm just teasing that little dimple away. And I'm using very light cuts as well, because we're a long way over the tool rest. And the scraper was sharpened before we started as well, so that's going to be in my favour too. If you look down there now, you can see that there's a little dimple, which we want to get out as well. Light cuts, that's the key to it. There we go, I can see down there quite nicely. I'm just going to blow those shavings out a bit as well. Now all I need to do is just round over. Can I reach in there? Can I reach all the way down? Yeah, just about. Right. So hopefully you're not going to be looking at the back of my ear. No, I don't want you to look at the back of my ear. I'll use the other camera. Talk amongst yourselves just while I do this bit. Really light cuts down the bottom there. Might need to put an edge back on it. So we'll go back to the Pro Edge. Yeah, that beach is pretty dry in there, and it's dulling the edge off. Oop. I'll just put the edge back on. And then we can come back over here, just give it a little bit of a blowout. There we go. Nice clean edge. Right down there. Noisy business down there. I think you might just be able to see down there what's going on. It's taking a little bit of time. It's nearly there. Let's have a little remote. Let's have a little reach down. Yeah, nearly there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the tool rest for a different one. So while I'm swapping this out, does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions just while I swap the tool rest out? Now where have they gone? I'm looking for a flat tool rest. Frustratingly, I had a little pile of 3 of them because I accidentally bought more than I needed to, which was 1. There's one, that'll do. This one's got a ruler on it. Wind that on. There. Right, now I can stick that. Get that in there and it'll give me a little bit more support. James at Wessex Technical, this is the Sorby 1-inch bowl scraper. That's better. Just bring that tourist up a little bit. Too low. Still too low. Just tease it up a little bit. That's better. Can you hear the difference? Now the tool is supported much further down there. There's a lot less vibration on the tool. In fact, we could get it down even further. Now, that's about as far as I can go. Keeping the tool flat on the rest. Now all I'm looking to do now, you see down there where there's a little white line, all I want to do down there is just round that over a little bit so it doesn't look like it's a drill mark. You know, when you start a project and you think, yeah, this will be great, yeah, this will be really nice, and then you think, oh yeah, I'll do it live, and then you realise that actually maybe hollowing might be a little bit boring. I hope you're not bored. I hope you're not bored. Wrong camera, that one. At least from this angle that you're looking at now, you can see all the way down, and you can see what the tip of the tool's doing. Nearly got it, it's nearly there. It's just taking a little bit longer than I was anticipating to get that done. Just give that a little blowout again. It's nearly there. Almost as soon as that little white line goes, I'm going to have a nice curve to the bottom of the piece. There it goes, nearly. There we are. I hope you can see that now. Ugh. Just pull that out of the way, give that a little blowout. There we go, that's nice. You can see now, particularly on that camera. Let's just knock that down a little bit and zoom that in. You can see now that we've got a nice curve to the bottom down there, and that nasty 90-degree cut and the point from the Forstner bit is now gone. That's nice, I'm happy with that. Now I can finish. No, I won't. I'm going to sand the inside of that first. Let's lose the tool rest. Right. And we're done with that tool for a minute as well. Now I am going to sand. Oh, excuse me. I am going to sand this because I want to finish it tonight. And we've got yeah, it's 8:30, so yeah, we've got time. So I'm going to go and switch the extractor on and put my mask on, and then we will just sand that down as quick as we can. Right, the extractor is on now. We'll put that there. Get the mask on. Over the top of my hat. Now I know you can hear me. I've done enough of these to know that you can hear me, even though it may not be very well. I'm going to run through the grits just as normal. I'm going to start with 120. Then go down to 180, 240 and then 400 just on the inside. I might need to switch to a slightly smaller sanding head. We'll see. I'll slow the lathe down a little bit. Oh sorry, you're just looking at the back of my head. There we go. Now I've just closed the blast gate on the other lathe. So there we are. I'm sanding inside there now, getting right the way down to the bottom. I'm not putting too much pressure on it. Let's just stop there a second. That looks good. Now I'm going to move down to 180 grit. Now because this is actually quite a deep piece, I would never consider sanding this with my hands or my fingers in there. It's a very good idea to use some kind of sanding instrument. Yeah, it's a good idea to use some kind of sanding instrument like this one from Simon Hope. Really good idea. Keeps your hands and your fingers safely out of the way, and to be fair, it will do a much better job. $180, $240 next. I'm just going to have a quick look inside there as well, just to see how it's looking.
looking, I need to do a little bit more on the top. I'm missing the very top here just a little bit, so I'll put that right with the 240 grit. Spend a little bit of time at the top, not too much, but just enough. Now you notice that I'm not spending ages and ages and ages on each of the sanding grits. That's because once the grit has done its job of removing the sanding marks from the previous grit, there's no point doing anymore. That looks good. And you can see sanding on the inside like that, if you keep as much of the pad in contact with the piece as possible, you end up with nice dust. You end up with nice dust all over the sanding disc. And then finally we're going to use 400. So we'll use a bit of 400 grit just to put the last surface on there. Make sure we get right the way down to the bottom. And we can stop the lathe there. Give that a little blowout. And I can see I'm still not happy with the top here. I've got a few sanding marks left at the top, so I'm definitely not happy with that. And for those of you who know me and how picky I am about finishing, I'm going to go right back up to 180 grit now just to take those marks out. It's really important that your sanding is absolutely spot on, particularly if you're adding colour. But I'll talk about that in a minute. Just stop there. That's better. Just those few extra seconds has now taken that mark away. And I'm just going to do a little bit on the very top as well. Which I'll probably end up cutting back the top anyway. Right, back down to 240. And then 400. There we go. And we'll get some kitchen towel in there as well, just to clean out a little bit more of the dust. And there we go. That is absolutely super. Now the sanding marks I was looking at, were right at the top, up here, run about 5 mil in. And for those of you who have had a lesson, hang on a minute.
let's just turn the extractor off. I'll just turn the extractor off. There we go. That's better. It's a little bit quieter now. Yeah, for those of you who have had turning lessons with me, and particularly finishing lessons and the Fanatical About Finishing course, you'll know how picky I can be about finishing. That's because the finish is what is the bit of the turning that is going to be seen for as long as the piece is around. If the finish is poor, it's always going to be poor. So make sure that your finish is as good as it possibly can be. And if you feel that you need to go back and sand it again, go back and sand it again. Because if you know it needs sanding again, go and sand it again. Otherwise you're always going to look at that piece and go, oh, I wish I'd sanded it back. So yeah, always make sure that your finish is as good as it possibly can be. Right, okay, now what we need to do is, I'm just going to adjust the cameras here one final time. Well, probably won't be the final time, but you know what I mean. And we're just going to do a little bit of work just to finish off the shape before we start doing colours and stuff. So I can swing the tailstock back round. Oops. And I might need to switch over to the larger rubber chucky as well. Well, no, that definitely won't fit in there. Right, and then I'll put the big one on. Oops. Oh, come on. There we go. That will give me just enough support there. Good. Right. Now I can finish putting the shape on here now. Glasses on. What on earth did I do to the tools earlier when I was talking to you? I'm in a terrible state now. Ah, that's right. It's alright. I've got it sorted. I know what I'm doing now. Panic over. It's the trouble when you're trying to do multiple things at once. I don't know what I was trying to do. I can't remember now. Right, let's take that off. And put the gouge back in. There we go. That's what I want to do. Put that in my pocket. And then I can put the end of that back in there before I forget what I was doing with it. Oh yeah, it's worth mentioning that you don't, thank you for that, Buster, little nudge there. You don't have to use rubber chuckies. You can use anything you want. If you're turning a goblet like this one, for example, you could use a tennis ball or a rubber bouncy ball or something like that with the tailstock as a live centre with a little bit of support, or you could actually turn your own cone centre. I don't have time to turn these particularly, really, to be honest, and I may be just being lazy, but I don't. I struggle with time, as most of you will probably know. So I decided to use the rubber chuckies, and I'm very happy with them. Right, back to the gouge, back to the bowl gouge, and the over the spindle camera, and we're going to finish putting the shape on here. So we're going to have a very slight taper, and then we're going to dive round there into a very small Very, very small foot. Yeah, a little bit of speed going in the lathe. I've got to remember, of course, that the walls are considerably thinner now than they were. So I'm just going to take a little cut. Do a little bit more. I need to change the gouge in a minute. This one's dull too. There we go. I can take a little bit more off back there. Now it's really important that you keep the bevel in contact with the wood as usual. So when it comes to keeping the bevel in contact with the wood, what I like to try and sort of remember to do is imagine that I'm running the bevel around the surface of a football or the surface of a tennis ball, that kind of thing. Don't need this, this is all waste, lose that. Let me show you what I mean. So we've got a convex surface here, a bit like the surface of a ball. And in fact what I need to do before I do this is actually finish the inside of the piece. So let's do that first. I don't want to forget to finish the inside of the piece. That would not be very good. Still fairly solid. Right, okay, now I'm going to stop there, and whilst I put the sanding sealer and stuff on the inside here, does anybody have any questions at all? Lynn Bayford, it's called a mini hogger. So my usual sanding sealer, pre-thinned Hampshire Sheen sanding sealer, you all know that by now. Get that right in there. I'm going to put some on the top lip or the rim here, just in case I decide not to do anything with it, because at the moment I am a little bit undecided. Design and make. What is the Lesthorn multi-purpose tool intended for? Design and make. It's made for multiple purposes. You can use it as a skew. You can use it as a parting tool. You can use it as a beading tool. You can use it as a detail, a point tool. You can do it for all sorts of stuff. There we go. So that's the sanding sealer on. Now I'm just going to leave that to dry for a minute whilst we take some questions. Dire emergency, sanding sealer, no dire emergency. I put the sanding sealer on after I have finished sanding. James, usual small amount. James, it's got to be sealed properly, and if that takes a lot, it takes a lot. You should know that by now. Jason Leveron, if you wanted to a little message here for George Durakis. George, please don't try and sell stuff on the live feed here. It's taking advantage. Please don't post messages of stuff for sale. It's not fair. Thank you. Jason Wheeler, anyone know where to get a rubber chuckie in the UK? Jason, you can ask me. I'm thinking about actually going to be bringing them in because they're quite expensive. The chuck Paul Straker, the chuck I'm using is the Evolution SK114 with a set of G gripper jaws on them. Steve UK, thoughts on carbide tools for beginners? Steve, I'm not going to be talking about carbide tools for beginners here. On Zoom, yes, but not here. Jean Doucette, can you please exchange chucks and jaws one day? Yeah, Jean, one day. A demonstration like this isn't really a demonstration like I'm doing tonight. Isn't an ideal situation to be discussing chucks and jaws. That it requires a whole evening just to itself. B Drizzle, you're a carpenter and new to turning. Welcome to the world, B Drizzle. Thanks, Georgianne. Yeah, welcome to the gang, B Drizzle. Right, that feels like it has now gone off. Anthony, why aren't I using my Axminster lathe? Because I've got a better one. No, Anthony, I still have the Axminster one. It's in the school, or the teaching room, or the learning centre, whatever you want to call it. You've been here before, so you know where it is. It's the big grey one, but this is my new one that's just for the live streaming and stuff. G007 UK. If I wanted to make that a drinking glass, how would you finish the inside? I would use Rustin's plastic coating on the inside. Right, I'm going to move on now. I'm going to take a little bit of kitchen towel and just burnish the inside of that a little bit, and that will just help to denib the surface a bit. That'll just help to denib the surface a little bit and help to dry it off if it hasn't gone off completely. Just looking in there, that looks quite nice. And then I'm going to stuff some Hampshire Sheen High Gloss in there. I am rushing a little bit. That hollowing did take me a little bit longer than anticipated, to be honest. So now I'm putting on a coat of Hampshire Sheen Gloss Finishing Wax. I'm being careful not to get it on the top or the outside of the piece because I still need to colour this, which we will do at a record-breaking speed. That's that. Going to leave that for a second to go off and just have a quick run through the... Matt Harbour, is the Rustin's plastic coating and epoxy resin? To be honest with you, Matt, I don't know. I don't know, to be absolutely honest with you, Matt. So now I'm just taking a little bit of kitchen towel to the inside there just to buff that waxed surface up a little bit. And there we go, that looks rather nice. I'll just buff up the top surface here as well. Benjamin, got such a good finish on the inside. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say so. Finishing is kind of a speciality. Right, let's go back to that camera there. Now I'm going to finish putting the shape on. So, where are we? Come back down there a little bit. Hopefully that's in focus. Now I want to curve this round under here, so when we part it off we've got a teeny tiny little foot. And I want to use a thinner gouge as well. So I'm going to sneak a spindle gouge in there. It's looking a little bit on the flat side at the moment, so I want to try and curve it under just a little bit more. There we go. That's getting kind of down to where I want it to be. Can we do it a little bit more, do you think? I'm going to need to move the tool rest. Let's get the tool rest in as close as I can get it, because I don't want to be dropping off the end of the tool rest. Now obviously I'm not parting it off just yet. That'll do. But now I need to take a little bit of this away so I can get in there to do some sanding. So swap the tool rest round and we'll slide it in there. And I can use the bigger gouge for that. There we go, that'll do. Now we can sand the outside of this. I'm quite happy with that. That looks nice. I'm going to leave the rubber chucky in there as support. Push that up there. I'm going to check to see if it's in focus. Looks good. Move that out of the way. Go and put the extractor back on again. Doopy-doop-doop-doo. Right, mask. Now, just as before, what we're going to do is sand it down through the grits, and then we'll be done at 400 grit. Let's find all the various bits of abranet we have scattered around in here. That's 240, that's 320, that's 320, that's 180. Oh, okay. We'll go with 180 to start with. No, we won't. I'm going to find a bit of 120. Slow the lathe down a bit. I've got to be careful not to get it too hot. Now, although the walls are not paper thin, I still don't want to be getting the piece too hot at this stage.
stop there a minute. Okay, now we can go down to 180. Just going to make sure that all of the sanding marks from the 120 grit have gone. And there are a couple of tool marks left up here, but that's okay because I'm going to put a little belt of texture up here, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I am going to just run the sandpaper along the grain fairly lightly, and that'll just help get rid of those concentric sanding marks. So that was 180. We're going to go down now to 240. And I can just about begin to see a shine coming up on the piece now. And that's okay. I don't want it to get too shiny though. If it gets too shiny, then the colours are not going to soak in, the colours aren't going to be absorbed by the wood. So I'm going to check the surface of that now. So this is I've just done 240. I can see a few marks running this way. So a little going over the surface, running the sandpaper or the abrasive in the direction of the grain will just take those away pretty quickly. And then we'll go, I think we'll do a little bit with 320. I know I don't normally use 320 grit, but I do sometimes. I don't think 320 grit makes too much of a difference in the quality of the final surface, but just every so often, I quite fancy using some 320 today, but it's certainly not a go-to abrasive for me. So we're going to go from 320 straight down to 400. And the 400 grit is going to be the last grit that we're going to use on this piece. There we go, switch off the extractor.
Right, back again, so that's the extractor off. I must say this extractor really does do a good job of taking everything away. Right, now as I said, there are a few tiny little tool marks left, and if we just take a little look, I'll show you where they are, because I'm an honest turner like that. Now I don't know how much you'll be able to see of that. I think you can see it. There's a couple round here, but that's okay. It's okay because I've already thought that I'm going to put a belt on this piece. So I need a pencil. Where did I put the pencil? There we go. So I'm looking at the piece and I can see that I've got a sanding mark or a tool mark just there. So that's going to be the top of the belt. Ooh, hang on a minute. Can I get away with it? No. No, not going to do that. And then I'll put the bottom of the belt just there. Okay, so we're going to put some texture in between those two marks. And where did I put the texturing tool? Oh, it's over here. I'm still getting used to this particular layout of the new workshop. So I'm going to use the Sorby texturing tool as usual, but I'm going to use the texturing wheel rather than the spiraling wheels. So this is the one that has got essentially straight pointy spikes coming out of the wheel. If I just wind that round there a little bit and pull that up there, you can have a look at my overweight tummy, and we'll just push that down there like that. There we go. Right, so this is the one with the pointy wheels. Just make sure it's screwed up. So I just want to put any old texture in the middle there. I don't want it to be particularly organised or whatever the word I'm looking for is. So I'm just going to put that in there. I'm cutting right on the centre line. I want it fairly scrappy. Change the direction. Let's have a look, see what that looks like. Oh yeah, we can do a little bit more. I'm liking this already. Wrong camera, that's the one. Whoop. Let's try that way. Oh yes. That looks super nice. I like it. Okay. Right, next I just want to put a little mark either side of that that texture there, just to give it a little border. So I will do that. Well, I don't want to use the parting tool. I would normally use oh, hang on a minute. I would normally use a thin parting tool for this, but I think a line that thick is going to spoil it. So instead I'm going to use the corner of the multi-purpose tool just to make a little V groove in there rather than a flat. And I think that will give us a slightly nicer texture, a slightly nicer design. So just put the corner of the tool in there, just like that, and then we'll do it the other way as well. And there we are, that's giving us a nice border to it. Right, now we can start thinking about some colour. As I said last week, whenever it was I posted the information up, we're going to look at nice warming autumn colours. I'm not going to worry about the belt just at the moment, that's going to come later. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Little bit thirsty. talking a lot this evening, and particularly as I'm hoping to finish in 20 minutes, but that ain't going to happen. So gloves, really important when it comes to using colour. Any colours, be them water-based, spirit-based, spray on, wipe on, whatever. Make sure that you keep your hands covered. They're called dyes and stains for a reason. Turn that fan off so I can hear myself think. Right, warm colours. We're coming into, well, it's autumn time. The leaves are changing colours on the trees. So let's start thinking about those lovely, gorgeous, deep greens, the oranges, the yellows, and the browns. So we're going to use a little bit of earth, forest green, perhaps a little bit of flame, not sure yet. Honey, of course, ruby, pear green maybe, and burnt orange. And I'm going to start with earth. Am I? No, I'm going to put earth on last. Earth is going to go on the belt. So let's get a little bit of kitchen towel. I'm still using kitchen towel, for those of you who've been watching for a while. Same brand of kitchen towel. So we're going to put on some forest green. What am I going to use? Decisions. It's times like this I wish I had really properly decided what I was going to do at the start, and I don't think I can find my no, I can't find my sea sponges, so we're just going to have to go with a fairly kind of scrumpled up bit of paper, and we'll start with some forest green. Get some forest green on the towel. We'll go over the spindle. Now remember what I just said. I'm going to put the earth colour on the little belt here, so I'm not going to worry too much about getting colour onto there, but I'm going to put the forest green on here first. Fairly higgledy-piggledy. It's really warm in here, so the colours are drying really quickly. You know, you can see here I'm not paying a huge amount of attention to where the colours are going, but just like when I do bowls and stuff, I'm trying not to get really sharp sort of demarcations between the colours. That's really important because it makes blending them a real pain in the bum. Right, let's get a little bit of pear green on there as well. A little bit of pear green going on too. Notice as well that I didn't start with black. My bowl turning technique, well, some of my colouring techniques start with black, but in this case it's not. I haven't started with black, and I did that on purpose. So we've got a nice pear green going on here. Don't forget a little bit at the top. And although I'm going over the colours, I'm trying to leave them separated if possible, or a little bit separated. A little bit of overlap is absolutely fine, particularly when we get to the greens. No, not the greens, the sort of the reds and oranges. Right, so now I need a little bit more forest green. That forest green that's already on there is fairly light, so I'm going to put another coat of the forest green on. I haven't really left much room for the oranges, so I'm not going to panic too much. Life's too short to worry too much, isn't it? So let's just crack on. We'll get some burnt orange on. Burnt orange is a lovely colour. We'll put that down the bottom there. And a little bit in there. You know, when you look out across the fields or the mountains and all the trees are changing colour at this time of year, it's just a wonderful mixture of all of these gorgeous, rich, warming tones as the weather gets cooler. The wrong colour. Just sprayed the complete wrong colour on there. Never mind, just as well I'm not doing a pattern, isn't it? Now I'm not keen on the pear green on here. The pear green looks to me to be a little bit on the light side, so I'm going to go over most of that with the orangey colour, the burnt orange, and the ruby in a minute. And just as usual, I am changing kitchen towel between colours at the beginning. Where's the ruby go? Anybody see where I put the ruby? Oh, it's right there in front of my nose. See, so you can see how warm it's looking now. That lovely rich green, the orange. We'll throw a little bit of the ruby on there as well, just to really warm that up. It's almost Christmassy, isn't it? I'll go back to a little bit more forest green. Lovely. Dee dee dee. Splendid. Right, what do we think of that? Do we think that looks alright? Let's just move that up a little bit. There we go, I think that looks alright. Of course, we haven't finished it yet. Now, to blend those colours together, what kitchen towel? I'm going to use some methylated spirits, or as you guys call it in the States, denatured alcohol. Over here it's purple, over in the US I believe it's clear, although I don't think you can buy it in California anymore. You've got to buy camping fuel or something like that. It's exactly the same stuff, it's just called a different name. So I've got loads of the meths. Oh, smells good, let's put the fan on. I've got loads of the meths on the towel, and we're going to just rub it over the colours, and that's going to just blend them together just a little bit more than they are already. Soften the edges between the two. Just like that. And that has just moved all of those colours around just enough to blend them together. Then I'll use a hot air gun to dry them off. And this, if you've ever seen me do a colouring demonstration before, this is where everybody goes, "Ugh, that's horrible," because the colours dry out, they go muted, they don't look very nice, and generally it looks a bit rubbishy. But bear with me, it will all come together. Now I need some masking tape. This is frog tape, and I want to put a little bit of frog tape just around the outside of this line. This could all go horribly wrong, you know. So we just want to get No, I'm going to seal that first. So instead, I'm going to run it this side of the line. Just run it this side of the line just so I keep the sealer over here. And that'll just help any bleed when we get round to doing the inside of that, doing the whatever that bit in there was. Right, just run that round there. Little bit of sanding sealer in there wherever I've put it. Don't need an awful lot on this part of the piece. So the sealer is going to help liven up those colours a little bit. The same as, whoop, dropped it. The same as oil would. Oh. Now I'm going to peel that off before the sealer does something nasty to it. And then put another bit on here. So we can seal the bottom part of the piece. I'm starting to rush a little bit and I shouldn't. Right, put some sealer on here now. So I'm being careful not to go too far over the tape, because if the solvent in the sealer gets into the tape, it might start the tape to disintegrate and seal the bare wood underneath, which of course we don't want, because we've still got to get some colour on it. So I'm going to take that off quite quickly. There we go. Now with the hot air gun, no, I'm not. I'm going to burnish it dry. I think let's grab another one of those. So I'm using a piece of paper towel, piece of the kitchen towel, just to dry that sealer off a little bit. And you can see that it's doing a good job because it's actually starting to get a little bit shiny. And then there are some fluffy bits on the texture that we added. So I want to find a piece of 3M pad wherever it's gone. Lost it. I'll grab another one. There we go. So I'm going to take this, the 3M pad, and just knock those fluffies off a little bit. That sealer feels dry properly now, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to burnish it round again, because I do need to tape either side of here now. So let's get that going. Whoop. find the tape again. That's better. And now we can tape up. Let's tape up either side of that, because we've got to get some colour in there, and we want as little bleed as possible. So I'm trying to be as accurate as I can with the frog tape. I'm pulling it taut as I go as well, just to make sure that I get a nice line all the way round. There we go, and we'll do the same on the other side. This side is a little bit more tricky for me because being left-handed I prefer to work on this edge rather than this edge. So it's a little bit more tricky. There we go, that'll do. Get that right down at the edges. I might have missed a little bit, might have overhung a little bit. And now I'm going to apply the colour. I'm going to do it with an airbrush, I think. I know I don't often use an airbrush, but it can be very handy at times where you want a nice coat but you don't want to over apply it, if that makes sense. So I've just got the airbrush plugged in, and I need to find the earth bottle. It's in here somewhere. I've cleaned all my airbrush bottles recently. There it is. Earth, there we go. So I'm going to take a little bit of earth straight out of the bottle and put it into the airbrush bottle. I prefer to use a siphon feed airbrush rather than a gravity fed brush. I don't know really. I prefer working or using an airbrush at slightly higher air pressures than normal the normal airbrushes, but I still find I get a reasonable amount or a decent amount of control. That's coming up to pressure. So there we go. So just in case, there it is. It's a relatively inexpensive airbrush, siphon fed airbrush with a nice little Intrinsic Colour sticker on the bottom. And I'm going to start the lathe up. I don't want it running too slowly. Just check there's some colour coming out of it, which there is, and then just colour that. Just stop the lathe there for a minute. Yeah, a little bit more. I don't want to go too crazy with it because I really don't want it to bleed, so I will leave it right there. Put the airbrush down there, peel these off and hope to dear God it hasn't bled. Oh. Which it hasn't. Huzzah! Well, it hasn't that side, And it hasn't that side either. Yay! I feel quite happy about that. There's the over the spindle view. So now I need to dry that with the hot air gun. Again, I don't want to get it too hot. There shouldn't be too much of the dye on there, but now I need to put some sealer on it. Sealer is important at this stage, which also means I can seal the whole thing again. So I'm going to apply the sealer just by using the towel as a mop almost, because this is a textured surface. If I start to rub it, obviously the texture is going to break the paper, and I'm going to be rubbing the surface in a minute anyway with some bronze wax, and that's going to tear the paper up enough as it is. A little bit more, I think, just one more. Oh, I thought you put on, there we go, the tool rest camera. A little bit more. Do. There, that'll do. Now we can let it dry off a bit, because that is also very important. And we're nearly done. Nearly done. We are going to run a little bit late, which I thought we probably would. It wouldn't be one of my demos if we didn't run a little bit late. I will give it a little bit of heat. I don't like using a hot air gun to dry off cellulose sanding sealer, because if you get it wrong, it has a habit of boiling and bubbling and going absolutely rock solid, and then it becomes a real pain to finish properly or finish reasonably well. I need that brush. Right. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to just accentuate this belt with a little bit of what are we going to do? Gold. Let's put some gold embellishing wax on there. I would use bronze. Ordinarily I would use bronze in this case, because it will look really nice on there, but the bronze doesn't show up particularly well on camera, so I'll use gold instead, and that'll just help it stand out a little bit better on camera for you. And we're going to do sort of a little bit of a dry brushing technique. Well, it's a dry brushing technique and it isn't a dry brushing technique, but I think it is more of a dry brush than not. So I'm going to get a bit of the gold on the kitchen towel here, but I don't want to smear it into big lumps. I want it kind of evenly over the towel. I'm going to spin the lathe up fairly quick, and then if you just look at what I'm going to do is I'm going to get kind of down here and then just really carefully touch the towel, or just touch the wax to the surface, and it should pick it up. You can see it there. It's just beginning to pick the wax up. And then I can put a little bit more on. I'm going to just touch it where we haven't got an even line, but I don't want to go outside of the little texture band that we've put here. Let's just stop there and have a look. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Now I'm going to grab a mini shoe brush wherever I put it. I was using it a second ago. A mini shoe brush. Oh, it's right there. Mini shoe brush, just like this one. Here it is, mini shoe brush. And then I'm just going to brush over the surface of that just to take off any excess wax and any excess kitchen towel. And then we're going to do it again. Let's slow the lathe down this time a little bit. That's better. And I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm quite liking that. We'll look at that over the top of the spindle. Yeah, that looks quite nice. So we can bin that. Now we can put some... See, we could, if we wanted to, lacquer that now. After this gold has dried, we could lacquer over the top of that if we want to. If you wanted to. Or you could just go with your normal finishing products, your normal wax, which of course in my case is Hampshire Sheen finishing wax. Boo boo boo. Let's get some of this on. Now I don't want all of it shiny. I want to leave the belt kind of matte or satin, as it were, because it's going to be very difficult to get that shiny because it's all textured and it's all uneven and stuff. So we'll grab, whoop, dropped it. Oh, let's pick that up. I've got to be very careful how I get the wax on this side of the piece. I'm going to rub it round, get it right up to the edge of the whatever that's called, that textured belt. I'm getting tired now, can you tell? And one thing I forgot to do was the top, so I'll have to do a little bit of playing on the top here. I'm going to do that now. I forgot to do the rim. See, we've got little mismatched edges there. That's not good enough. So I'm going to change that rubber chucky for that one. So I'm just changing the rubber chucky for a green one, which means I can get a little bit more support a little bit further down, and it'll give me a little bit more space just to work just on the edge here. In fact, all I want to do really is sand it, but because we've only got this bit here, a little bit of support on the inside isn't going to do it any harm at all. So I'm just going to sand that back. I'm not going to worry about the extractor or a mask for this just at the moment. Let's Let's have a look at that. That'll do, and then we'll just finish that off with a little bit of 400. Tiny little chamfer. Oh, sorry, you can't see. Tiny little chamfer on the outside and the inside edge. And then wherever my waxed towel has gone, can't find it. Hey. So I'll just get a little bit of wax just on the outside there. Okay. Now I think that's pretty much ready to buff now, so I've just increased the speed of the lathe a bit. And I can just buff that side. Left it too long to dry, didn't I? Let's have a look. Just taking that little little shoe brush to it just in there. The sealer wasn't dry. .941. There we go, that'll do. I'm not going to do any more to it. Oh, I've just put more wax on it. That's not very clever. Right, okay, that's enough. I'm not doing any more. I've had enough. Let's get back to that brush just to take off. There we are, that'll do. That'll do, that'll do. Now I can part it off and then we'll be done. Wind that out. Find the tool rest. Get that up there nicely. Grab some more kitchen towel. Check I can grab it. Yeah, somehow. Fluted parting tool. I hope you can still hear me alright. I haven't really been paying much attention, so I'm sorry. Okay, fluted parting tool. And start by making a relief cut. I'm going to ever so slightly undercut the bottom as well, ever so slightly. There we go. I had to slice through. I had to slice through the end of that fairly quickly because it started to wobble and I was beginning to lose control of it. But there, I quite like this. Let me set it up here for you. I'll just move that down there, and I'll set that up there with that nice little bit of figure in it. I'll just push that up there, and if I just rearrange this camera a little bit, oh. Check its focus. Oh, it's tipping. And there we are. There we are. There it is. Our autumn colours, nice warm belted vase. There we go. There we go. Splendid. Right, I'm going to leave that there on screen just for a minute or two, and that'll also give me a chance to have another mouthful of coffee. If anybody has any questions, please do ask them now. As I've got I'm heading over to a club meeting in about 10 minutes. So if you've got any questions or queries, please do ask them now. And I'll get through as many as I possibly can. Thank you very much for your positive feedback on that. I'm glad you're all. I'm glad you've been enjoying it. I certainly have, and it's nice to be back as well. And although I haven't been able to look at all of the chat, it's nice to see. It's nice to see so many friendly names and banter going on the screen there. So that's awesome. Thank you very much indeed. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. Anybody with any questions? Thank you, James. Thank you, Buster and Mike. Mark Richardson, Martin Chapello. I think I might be seeing you in a few minutes. Thank you, Steve at SK Crafts. I appreciate that. It's nice to be back too. Richard Parker, when you buff the wax, do you try to get it hot? No, not really. It needs to be warm enough to spread, but not hot. If you get it too hot, what happens is that obviously it melts and then it comes off on the towel. And then, of course, you have an uneven finish. It's a little bit of a balancing act, to be honest with you. Thank you, Jason. Jason Leveram, first demo you've been to. Brilliant. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Rob Stevens, can you use Danish oil as a sanding sealer with enough coats? Rob Stevens, yes, you could use it. Well, yes and no. There are so few solids in Danish oil. It will take ages and ages and ages to use it as a sanding sealer, and not all oils, not all finishing oils are food safe. If it doesn't say food safe on the tin, my professional opinion is don't use it for a food contact item. It's just not worth the risk as far as liability is concerned. Reg82, Regina, thank you ever so much, my lovely. It's wonderful to see you again. I hope you're well. Regina, do you use a formula to decide on height and diameter? I generally try and use something around the golden ratio, rule of thirds kind of thing. So if the piece is 4 inches wide, then the height is going to be a factor of 1.618-ish. But a lot of the time I just do it by eye. If it looks right, it is right. Thank you, Julian Cleek, and thank you for your email yesterday, I think it might have been. Rob CP Turner, Have you missed my newbie questions? And that is the reason you're really back. Rob, I've missed all of the questions, but hang on, let me just turn this camera around this way a little bit, and you'll be able to see into what will very shortly be a shop. Just look there through the window. Wrong camera. There you go. Just through that window, through there, is going to be our retail space. So that's what we've been really busy doing over the last few months, is getting that together. And just through that door over there, that is where my old workshop was. Sorry, Rob, did I call you Leisure? I don't think I did I? Deborah Young, do you sell individual bottles of Intrinsic Colours? Yes, they are available. The Intrinsic Colours are available in 15 milliliter sample packs. I've got one here. I've got one here because I was taking a photo of it a few weeks ago for the new website. So that's a 15 milliliter sample pack, and there's 12 bottles in there, 15 milliliters of each. There's a bigger box set as well, which has 125 ml bottles in. Thank you, Mike Doyle. You're an absolute star. It's a pleasure to see you again. And then finally, there are the individual 250 ml bottles available, which is what I've been using this evening, Deborah. Filed Coast Woodturning, Simon. Are Sorby texturing tools coming in stock this month? I received an email from Sorby this morning. Our estimated delivery date for our order is not until the 4th of December. They are absolutely rammed at the moment, Simon. They are absolutely snowed under. So yeah, beginning of December. So not this month, but early next month, yeah. Paul Morris, why do turners tend still to measure in inches? Paul Morris, I think turners tend to still measure in inches because most of them are still old enough to know how to use inches. to be fair, although I was brought up metric, my mum is a seamstress, or she was a seamstress, and she was old school. So when I was at home, I would be listening to her making her curtains and talking about feet and inches. But at school, I would be working in millimetres and centimetres and stuff. And over time, I've blended the two together. Before I was a wood turner, I was actually a photographer. And photographers, professional photographers, tended to work in inches as well. So 6x4, 8x6, 7x5, 10x8 prints, that kind of thing. So I've always been around the kind of the mix, as it were. Tom Dullidge, thank you, Tom. I hope to see you. Hope to see you in the meeting in a few minutes. I can do 4 more minutes, and then I really need to. Head off. Lee Pearson, question: watched a video of you once turning a bowl, and you mentioned about a problem you can get with a wave pattern. I've had this happen and I don't know why. Basically, Lee, your tool presentation isn't quite right, and the gouge is beginning to vibrate a little bit, or the wood is starting to flap if you're going too thin. I can't explain it very quickly, but that's going to be the reason why it's a tool presentation issue. Tom's Garage, can't wait to pop to the shop. Can't wait to meet you, Tom. Oh God, everything's just running really quickly. Tiny Turner, late to the party. Yes, sorry Emma, all done. But for Emma, wrong camera. That's the wrong camera. There we go. Emma, here you go. Emma the Tiny Turner. There's tonight's project. Oh. That's tonight's project. I hope you and the poltergeist are well, Emma. Eric McRae, what's the shelf life? Until they evaporate, Eric. Designer Mate, will you do some videos again as well as the lives? Designer Mate, yeah, I posted a video just a couple of weeks ago. So I will be doing some more. It's all a question of time. Although doing that video the other week, I filmed it using this setup, and it cut my filming and editing time down by about 12 hours. Right, I'm going to have to love you and leave you, I'm afraid. I am going to say a big, big, big thank you to everybody who has joined in this evening. It's been wonderful to see everybody again, even though its names just flying by with all of the chat. Really fantastic to see you all. And if you have made a super chat donation, thank you ever so much. All of your super chat donations go to improving this setup, and I'm constantly investing in better kit and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all of those super chat donations. Thank you for your questions. I'm back next week. I think I'm back next week with another Tuesday demo. I'm not sure. I think it's next week. I'm pretty sure it's next week. There's one Tuesday I'm not doing. Yes, I'm back next week, the 24th of November. Not sure what I'm going to be doing yet. We'll see it, but whatever it is, it's going to be a little bit of fun, and I hope to see you all there. So I'm going to say good night. Thank you very much. Let me just change camera. Yeah, thank you very much. Good night. I hope to see you all soon, and have a good one. Bye for now, everybody. And for those of you at Woodturning 360, I'll see you in Zoom in 2 minutes.